What is happening, y'all? What's good? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? Welcome to another great episode of our Smooth Club podcast, a show where everyday men discuss everyday topics. As you see, we're testing out some new ways. You're going to be tuned into us on a weekly basis. That's right, y'all, on a weekly basis every Thursdays at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel, Rugged Evo TV, as well as wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify. Again, wherever you get your podcast on, you can tune in to our Smooth Club podcast. Joining me is my bro, my main man, a member of the great, amazing production, Hybrid Production. I got Mr. Cam G with me. Cam, what's going on, boss man?
What's goody, bro? Not much. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm Arrington Gavin, co-host, I guess, of our Smooth Club. Look, man, the storm. We were recovering from a bad storm that happened here in VA. As you know, Hurricane Ian is hit Florida pretty bad, well, extremely bad, as well as parts of South Carolina. We got a little tail end of it last night with some bad storms. So we were initially gonna have Ciroc with us, but right now he's having some difficulties with his internet, man. So hopefully next episode, Ciroc will be all good to go, man, and we'll be he'll be joining Cam and myself.
Word, Ciroc, we need you, bro.
We need you, Ciroc. we need to smell the herb through these mics. But also we have a great episode going on today, a great show. We have guest Jerry Stephanitsis. Jerry is a good buddy of mine. Jerry is a director of operations for the Virginia Championship Wrestling, which is a pro, it's an indie pro wrestling organization here based out in Virginia. It's been in existence since '96, which is new news to me. It's funny how we really got in contact and how I found out about the VCW. So Cam, growing up as a kid, I've always been a huge wrestling fan, right? That was like my go. I've had all the action figures, watched it every week, SmackDown, Raw, the Attitude Era, you name it. I was a big fan, and still starting to come back into it. They got so many organizations. AEW, of course, WWE still very much still on top, but AEW is making a lot of noise. So I'm just excited to bring Jerry on, man. Were you ever a wrestling fan, man, as a kid?
I was probably through like until I graduated from college. We won't mention years here. That's not important. But yeah. We used to have like these big like the dorm would purchase the pay-per-view events, and we would all be in like one of the lounges or whatever watching. Good times. Wrestling, I always like kind of come back to it for like a month or so and kind of catch up to the storylines, and then it just kind of tapers off. But always good entertainment. They're like, it's like men's soap operas.
You know what? You're not the first guy that told me that too. Like I remember interacting with a grown man years back, and he was talking about wrestling. He's like, it's like soaps for me. It's like my soap operas. I gotta watch my wrestling. I gotta watch WWE tonight and stuff like that. And you're absolutely right, because I think that's what really gravitated the enjoyment of wrestling was the storylines, man. I mean, these storylines, for a second, you thought it was like real shit. Like it was, you had, I remember at the time during the Attitude Era, you had the WCW going against the WWE, and that was big noise because years back it will show one of their proud moments. I think the group D Generation X, they were invading the Norfolk Scope, and it was so cool because they were outside of an arena that another promotion was going down, and you really don't see stuff like that now because again, WWE is it's the juggernaut of professional wrestling, worth billions and billions of dollars. They're pretty much starting to buy out their competition, on the low. A lot of people really don't, believe that they probably own this and that. I'm pretty sure. I'm curious. I think they might have part ownership in that AEW, but what I've known, what I've heard is the owner of AEW, he's actually the son of the guy that owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know his last name is Khan. I can't get his first name, but he is the owner of AEW, which is a growing company because a lot of big alums are leaving WWE, going to AEW, like Chris Jericho, Sting was out there, and many others. So CM Punk, those cats, they're moving on to other other organizations, and it's good seeing the competition. But I fell off, for a long time. I'm probably around the same years, since college. And again, growing up, I had every action figure. I'm seriously, bro. I don't know why I even like got rid of them. I'm like, I could have made some money off them, but
Yeah.
so had every action figure. Always played strictly wrestling video games. Um, man, what else? What else? It was
I think one thing that we kind of lose touch of sometimes is that these are some of the best athletes in the world too. Like some of the things that they do, and like 2 or 3 times a week, some of these guys are active. Is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
and like you
So,
said, the impact that they take on their body. I mean, you're
oh
looking
yeah,
at what Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're
yeah.
performing and they're traveling nonstop, and they still have to stay in great shape.
Hmm.
And again, that impact. I mean, even though it's considered entertainment, and they're probably friends behind the scenes. Those stunts that they do, man. That's like I've
Yeah.
been to a couple of wrestling events live, man. Hey, that impact, that's not fake stuff. I mean,
No,
those chair
you
shots and
can't.
stuff.
Yeah, you can't fake physical activity to the degree that they do. Like, I mean, the moves may be choreographed, but they
Mhm.
still have to pull them off. Like you said, the impact of them hitting the mat, like that's real. Like the things that they do are real. So, yeah, no props to them. I know I couldn't do it.
I thought about it. I thought about it. Maybe then when I realized how big these guys were, I'm like, maybe I can be a manager or a
You could have
referee.
been a luchador.
I could have been a luchador. Oh, see, that's tough.
How's your hurricanrana?
You know
Nah,
what? See, first of all, the flips, you already lost me right there, because they the ones that do. They have look Rey Mysterio, all them. No, I can't do that
no
stuff.
top rope action for you.
No, no, no,
All
no.
right.
I'll be that guy that will toss in a weapon or something to the other guy. Be like, hey,
Okay,
hey.
okay.
I'll
Yeah.
be the help chief.
Manager it is. Manager it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I'll be like a Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South.
Yeah,
I'll
that
be
actually
something like
that's
that.
yeah, either that or Bobby Heenan. That'll be perfect for you.
Hey, look,
Perfect.
that's me all day. That's me all day. I
Yeah,
stay in shape. I can get good sleep and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
man, no, I'm really excited because it's been a while since we've all been just chatting it up on a weekly basis. We finished doing so. We got some great new shows coming forward for everybody and
Mhm.
our listeners and watchers, and with some great people. But we're even more excited to have the opportunity to talk on a weekly basis. So I mean, we're going to be staying up to date with all the current event, whether it's sports, entertainment, music, news, politics, the culture, you name it. We're going to be discussing here on our Smooth Club podcast. So,
Yep.
first things first, man. I want to get on the conversation of we've heard about it. Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, man. That was some
Mm,
wild news when we first heard about it.
yeah.
As you know, there were allegations for sexual abuse, allegations towards Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish
Yeah.
over a skit that they did years back,
Yeah.
and it was what made it worse. Now I haven't seen you. Have you actually seen the video, Cam?
I saw a clip of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't seek it. It like us. I think a good whatever Instagram held. I think it was like the first 59 seconds of it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was enough. I didn't need to see any more than that. I heard a description of what the rest of the
Jeez.
video looked like. I was like, I'm good. There's no funny to that. There's no funny to that. So I just kind of left it where it was.
And it's like, it's sad because we see the growth of course, Tiffany Haddish has hugely, like, she's become one of the top A-lister actress comedians, in the industry right
Mhm.
now. Of course, Aries Spears been doing it for a long time. We
Yep.
both kind of have the agree to disagree kind of thing as far as like where's his status, where would you put him in, like the comedy not Hall of Fame, but at least just in the comedy realm, who would you put him
He
in?
would be on the outside, like, hey, I see Eddie and Dave and such
Ouch,
in there.
ouch, ouch, Cam.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I'm not gonna deny Aries' contributions, but
mhm.
like I don't Hall of Fame, like come on,
and
bro.
see, and
You
see, and
kind
look,
of
it come back to like contributions. Like, okay, what
Mad TV.
contribution?
Mad
Okay,
TV.
okay,
He was one of the main stars in like the main characters on Mad TV. He was one of the people. He was one of the cats that held that show. When you think Mad TV, Aries Spears is one of the first 3 people you're gonna name. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then like I said, his impressions are pretty damn good. Like that's how we came to know Aries Spears. But aside from that, his stand up is mediocre. Like he's not funny, but he's not anyone that, like, if you know, locally here we have the Virginia Beach Funny Bone. If I see him on the ticket, he's not going to be one of the ones that I step up to be like, oh yeah, I got to go see him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of people think that way.
That's true. That's true. You know what? I just I feel like now with contributions though help gain a certain like level of not really respect, because it will obviously, you know, earn people's respect in the comedy industry, but does that help him as far as
us forgiving? I know you're
no,
not going, oh, okay. Like, nah,
no,
he's
no.
burning. He's done.
Well,
But, yeah.
remember when I told you I said icon. We had a conversation a while back over the phone. I mentioned icon. You're like,
Yeah.
what? I know. And then we were thinking, like, I was thinking legend is higher than icon. So it's like, again, does contributions also? I feel like we have to remember that stuff. That's what I'm trying to go with. Like his contributions.
I would say he could be considered one of the pillars, but we're not going to put the word icon or legend next to his name. I'm not.
Yeah.
And that was before all this stuff happened.
I think I would only because, like, I would just, like you said, contributions. Mad TV really was a historic show, and he was one of the main people. Just like, you know, just like in Living Color. In Living Color, you can't not talk about, you know, Tommy Davidson or Jim Carrey or David Allen Greer. You know, all those people. And now I've never seen David Allen Greer stand up wise. Tommy Davidson, of course. Tommy Davidson kills the stage, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, one of the Shaquille O'Neal the Shaquille O'Neal All-Star comedy jams that he puts on. I remember Aries Spears and Tommy Davidson and Kevin Hart, I think, was on that. Might have been on that same one. It was one where Cedric the Entertainer had hosted, and it was one of his first of many All-Star jams. And, you know, Aries did great. Of course, his key thing was impersonations. I think he was, you know, really one of the known comedians that does great impersonations. Now you got Jay Farrell, who's a, you know, Hampton Roads native from Chesapeake, and Jay Farrell's, you know, graduated from Saturday Night Live, doing movies, shows, and he's having a really great career. But yeah, man, Aries Spears.
So you went back to In Living Color, right? Just to keep it on topic. And you named some names. You named Tommy Davidson. Tommy Davidson has done a slew of things since In Living Color. David Allen Greer has had some pretty significant roles, and I believe he wrote also, like, you know, behind the scenes. Jim Carrey, Marlon Wayans, like all of these people, like you can't put them in the same boat as Aries Spears. The people that came off of In Living Color that we're naming went on to be icons. You know what I'm saying? Like Aries hasn't done the same. Name one thing that Aries has done since Mad TV. And again, I put him up there as a pillar because of his contributions with Mad TV. But what has he done since? He hasn't had a TV show. He may have had a stand-up or two. I'm not sure.
I think I've only seen one stand-up, and that was on Tubi. So
was it a stand-up or was he on a show? And like,
no, it was
his own stand-up.
It was his own stand-up special. No, it was his own stand-up special
on Tubi. No disrespect to the comedians on Tubi, but like
it was like, yeah, it was on Tubi.
If you're gonna put icon and legend after his name, you got to build a case for it. Is what I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't
see the case for it, and I'm not trying to bash him or anything like that. I'm just being real with what I'm saying. Like,
I guess I look in years and doing it, because he's probably done, you know, more than 100 comedy shows where he does stand up, maybe not as comedy specials.
So why doesn't anybody want to invest in him to give him the 30 minutes? Where's his Netflix special? Where's his HBO special? Like,
but you know what? I wonder if he's just that. I mean, I don't know. That's a great question.
The problem with Aries Spears, I mean, we're getting way too far into Aries Spears right now. But
that is true. We're giving him a lot of time.
The problem with Aries Spears is he's disgruntled. He feels like something is owed to him, and that's what trips him up at every pass, and that's how it plays out. That's why he hasn't progressed any further
I think that
because of his attitude, and
I think the same.
that's what it is.
And there's a lot of comedians like that because we talked about who I'm a huge fan of, TK Kirkland. TK doesn't have not a Netflix special, not an Amazon special. He got some specials on. He got like 2 on Tubi, but TK is a lot. There's a
TK
lot of
travels a
comedians.
lot, and he has a cult following. I don't think TK wants that. I'm not gonna say he doesn't want it, but he does well with what he does. He has the respect of his audience. He has the respect of his core followers. And you see him moving around with certain people and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit different of a scenario. But I don't put them in the same boat though. I don't put them in the same boat.
Oh no, I think I will, just not as far as, I mean, I'm more of a fan of TK than I am of
as you should be. He's
Aries Spears,
and
it's before this. Aries Spears is funny too. That's the thing. Aries Spears is funny. I feel like I feel like he needs a little more credit.
I feel like he tries to be racy, but he goes for shock value. Again, we're spending way too much time.
We are.
But he shoots for shock value, and I know TK kind of does a shocking thing, but he always circles the funny behind it, and he always has something to say. Like it could be messages that you don't want to hear or think they may not apply to you or whatever the case may be, but he's very cunning in the way that he delivers how he feels that you should, how you, like, what is his saying? Keep it player. Like
which one? TK's?
Yeah, TK.
Oh, I was about to say Who Raised You. That's the one I always remember.
Who Raised You is that, but his thing is to keep it player. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, getting back to the original thing that we were talking about
was the allegations.
I think Aries is done. I don't think, I know that he was like, oh, you guys are going to see and we had this conversation before. He was like, oh, this is an extortion. This is a stick up. And I'm like, dude, that could all be true. Two things could be true. It could be a stick up. They're trying to stick it to you. They're trying to get paid off of it, but you still did the bullshit that you did. Right. So I don't care what happened. I don't care what happened now. The fact is you did that, and them sticking you up now doesn't erase that. So there's that. Very Tiffany, true. That's a tough one, because I know in weeks past she's going as far as saying she lost everything. Now that's interesting to me, because I thought she was kind of one of the protected golden children in Hollywood. And for something to happen some time ago, if she's saying that she lost everything, the next few months are going to be interesting to see what comes from Tiffany Haddish.
Well, the thing with Tiffany, because I'm all for our people getting paid, accomplishing, continue to grow in their brands and all that great stuff. I've never been the biggest fan of Tiffany comedy wise. I just never thought it was like, I don't really see it.
It's
she was
hilarious.
She was hilarious on Girls Trip. She was funny as hell on that. But when I see other movies with her in there, it's like, okay, I kind of see the same. But they're funny. They're good. I've seen her in other movies.
She literally reminds me of Mike Epps. Hilarious in movies, has that one
awful on stand-up
type, that skill type that is perfect in certain roles in the movies. But like personally, I can't watch Mike Epps stand-ups. I don't watch Tiffany Haddish stand-ups because it's not what I seek for comedy. But I think they're hilarious in movies. They kill their role type every time.
Movies, there's a difference between a comedic actor and a stand-up comedian. Huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Huge difference. You have Will Ferrell and Steve Carell. They're hilarious in movies and film. But if you see them in stand-up, they're
Kevin
probably
James.
Kevin James.
Yes, all of them kill their roles. But I'm not watching a stand-up for any one of them. I just doesn't relate.
I've seen Mike Epps stand-ups on Netflix. I'll give him a C+. I mean, they're not, again,
it's not for me.
It's not for you. It's not for
you.
Not even
the one I haven't. I'm gonna say whatever his last two were. I haven't watched, but the one that I did try to watch, because he was in Fuego at the time. It was almost like he was trying to be Day on stage. Like he took that whole persona and was trying to play it out on stage. It didn't translate. It didn't translate. So it didn't work for me. If I want to see Day Day, I'm just gonna watch next Friday after
Well,
next,
well,
blah blah
like
blah.
for Tiffany, I honestly think that she is a basic comedian actress. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, she has her own style, her own brand, but
Mm-hmm.
she is her own. She is she has her own thing, but I think she's basic. She's a comedian, she's an actress, she's a host. There's multiple people that movie directors, TV producers, you name it. They can find other a actress, a comedian, and a host.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she doesn't have like if this happened to Kevin Hart, they're like, oh boy, we gotta sit back on this because Kevin is, he sells out football arenas. Joe Coy sells out football arenas, and he has successful movie projects and TV projects. So it's like you have to wait on the hesitation for guys like those because they're so profitable. Tiffany is a there's 50 other people, maybe 100 people just like her.
She's
Eh,
not. No.
Well, again,
She's
not.
not. She's not as profitable as the names that you name, but
Mhm,
she's up there. And the fact that she has this whole Netflix series where they're lining up and coming comedians, and she's getting these huge roles and stuff like that. Like, she is probably a couple levels below them, but
mhm,
she's not the type that will get burnt quick. Like, if you're saying that they're gonna wait to see what's happening for Kevin Hart and stuff like that, they're gonna do the same for Tiffany. They kind of did the same for Tiffany Haddish. I don't feel like she's getting the ire that that a lesser comedian would have got, or someone that the public didn't like would have gotten. I still think that she's getting a certain amount of grace in this. She's
mhm,
not getting bashed the way that we know she could get bashed.
mhm,
But her saying on TMZ or whatever she said it on, that like she lost everything, like that remains to be seen. Like, if that's
mhm,
the case, that's actually surprising to me,
mhm,
especially because how old this thing is. It's not like she did this a few weeks ago and we're like, yo, you are tripping. You know what I'm saying? So, I
mhm.
mean, I guess we'll see. I don't think she's done, though. I don't think she's done.
I don't think really any comedians that get canceled or well, technically canceled are done because there's always going to be platforms for them to earn some kind of pay.
No, no,
I
no, no.
mean,
When I say done, I mean to the level that she's at now. Like, come back and do what she's doing now. Like, yeah, she could create a YouTube channel and a podcast and do that. You know what I'm saying?
yep,
Anybody
yep,
can do
yep.
that. You know
But
what
you're
I'm
saying at
saying?
the peak that
But
she's at
like,
now, it's going to be a
get
huge
back
while
up
for her to get.
to her status as Tiffany Haddish, like in these big movies. Tiffany Haddish, I have this Netflix comedy series, like that piece. And I think she could get back close to that.
Mhm.
It's gonna take some time before these big studios and stuff like that are willing to take a gamble on her again. They gotta kind of feel it out, see what
That's true.
yeah.
That's very true. This is very true. As of recently, this happened several. Let's see. Okay, several weeks later after these allegations was put out, because this was put out in September. In September of 2022, Jane Doe abruptly filed to have the charges dropped. So
Oh, she got paid. She got that guap. she got that moolah.
and that's
Ching
the thing.
ching.
That's
Where's the ching ching?
you
The
got to
cash
cheat.
drop sound
You
effect, man. We gotta
got,
get these sounds in here, man. All right, we gotta sit together.
We look, we still grassroots. We still grassroots. We working on it. The budget is still
Yeah.
slim right now, but we gotta look at the budget. But like,
Word.
yeah, so, so it was a settlement. So the settlement could really, with the charges being dropped, that can be a blessing and a curse for Tiffany's career. Again, it's
Everybody
like,
know. Nah, everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows that they got paid. Everybody knows what that was, man. Like, there's no. You know what? No. She got paid. She got paid.
uh,
And then there's there's stipulations to that payment, which is why nobody's talking. But
mhm.
she got paid.
She
That's what
got
happened.
she got paid. Well,
She
look,
got
I'm
paid.
over here looking at some of the archive for Aries Spears just because I was curious. It's like, what other stuff was Aries Spears? So, did you know he was in Jerry Maguire
I do remember that.
for like a split? Because I think
Exactly.
was he
Yeah.
the brother? But
You realize bringing him up under that pretense is like contradicting your argument, right? Yeah, he had a 2.5 second role in Jerry Maguire. Yeah.
uh
Okay. All right.
he was in Okay, I'm not gonna go there.
Okay,
He was in the
Keep
Proud
going.
Family movie. You know that.
Oh, he was a voice actor. Okay, all right. Awesome. That's great. Trailblazer.
He was in. Oh, I'm gonna just keep on helping. No. Let me not help. I don't want to look like I'm that guy. So anyway,
again, Eric, again, you set me up to bash this man, and he's this man has provided us with plenty of laughs, plenty of entertainment over the years. I just don't want to overblow how we rank him in the pantheon of comedians and stuff like that. Like Aries Spears kind of made he made his bed with kind of the things that he's done and the things that he said and etc. We won't get into all that shit, but you know, it is what it is.
I really wish The Rock was here on this point just to get a comedian's point of view though when it comes to, because now like lesson learned after all of this, do they you really have to be careful on certain sketches, right? Because comedians already have that.
It's very easy. Don't bring kids in on pedophile skits. I believe that's rule number 1 of being a comedian, right? that was a layup. That was an easy one.
that was a layup right there for you. That was it. That was a lob right there. But no, you're absolutely right. I will not disagree with you on that one. But again,
there was a very simple solution to what they did. They could have brought in an adult, because we've seen it on sketch comedy for years now. You bring an adult to play a child. It's a little comfortable, but we could still find it funny and et cetera, et cetera. Never have we ever seen them bring in an actual child to be part of a skit where that nastiness is ensuing. That's just we don't. That's not just something you don't fucking do. And I don't understand how we got there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how we got there.
Maybe Aries Spears wasn't receiving the respect from the people, and he's like, "Look, I gotta do something. I gotta do something."
This was the crowning glory. This is what he penned up to get there. All right.
I mean, it was obviously a bad gamble. It was obviously a bad gamble.
It was more than that. But shout out to Aries Spears. Shout out to Tiffany Haddish. I hope I don't wish being done on anybody, and I really don't think Tiffany is done. I do. I think it'll be hard for Aries to really find much after this. I know he has a podcast, and that's probably the lane that he should stay in, because he's very outspoken with the podcast and with his with his ability to be inflammatory. He'll get some viral hits here and there, and then I honestly think that should be what he plays up. But like him getting a comedy special, him ending up in motion picture films and stuff like I think he's not a young dude either. I just don't see him building up to that.
True,
but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, and like you said, I mean, what podcasting, man, is kind of it's a safe way and an easy way to make some funds for a comedian, because
if you have a following already, it just makes sense.
That's true.
You got Instagram to promote it. You got YouTube to house it. You already got your celebrity. Do it. That's the only thing that I can see. And the other thing is, I don't like. He's untouchable right now. Like, what kind of guest is he gonna get? You know what I'm saying? I know he has the one guy that's on it with him or whatever. But who's gonna work with Aries Spears right now?
It's very true. It's very true. It's just Well, speaking of comedians, you hear about Monique got a Netflix. Well, she's gonna be having a Netflix special coming out pretty soon.
Good for her.
Good for her. This you rarely hear me say that on this show.
We got something for that.
There you go. You rarely hear me say that. And she has a movie also.
I'm not mad at any of us getting money. The only thing that got me with Monique is she was counting other people's pockets and basing her stature. And I know you got to do this to a degree, but she was basing her worth on what other people were making. You can't do that when you're not up there in the same trajectory as those other people. Plain and simple.
True. Very simple. Very true. Very true. I can't disagree with you on that one, boss. She well, obviously, she was just getting on my damn nerves. It was a lot. Literally getting on my nerves. 11 years later, she's still, every time she's on a show, every time it's even on her freaking stand-up, she's going bashing people 45 minutes of an hour show. Okay. So it's
Right.
like, Mo, give it up. And now, I'm happy her and Lee Daniels, they're
They ma-
rekindled their relationship, so they're doing
kissing
some
made up.
projects. Yeah, they're doing some projects. She has a special supposed to be coming out pretty soon. I don't know the exact dates, but it's supposed to be coming out really soon. So, again, let's hope it's a special of just her and not like Monique and Friends, because she did have a recent one on Showtime, and it was like a Monique and Friends thing. And once again, she had like she had I think Donnell Rollins was up there, who I think is extremely funny. I feel like do you think Donnell Rollins should get a little more credit than I mean, he's famous, but I just feel like Donnell is hilarious. Donnell is funny
I
as hell.
think he's super funny. I think Donnell's problem is at this point, and it may not be this now, but he happens to be really good friends and under the shadow of one of the greatest of all time.
Got you.
And that makes it. And the thing that I really like about Donnell is like, so people, like, if you look at kind of like comedians and the people they bring up, they're usually within the same kind of groove, same kind of comedic factor as the person that they're being brought in with, right? You look at Kevin Hart and the Plastic Cup Boys, like they do the reality comedy. I'm talking about My Family and stuff like that. None of them are really like physical comedians or anything like that. Like they're in the lane that Kevin Hart is in. You know what I'm saying? And if you look across the board, it's pretty much the same thing. Say all that to say, Donnell Rawlings is his own comedian. He is nothing like Dave Chappelle. You know what I'm saying? But he's fucking hilarious. So I give him props with that. I just think it's I know he does his thing. But I don't know what he has to do to get to that point where it's like he's arrived on the main like on that plateau.
True.
Like I don't know that we see a Netflix Donnell Rawlings special. Well, actually, I think he actually has one. Now that I think about it, I think he actually has one.
Donnell. Well, you know what? He's supposed to be having one soon with oh god. When Earthquake did his most recent one on Netflix, that was under Dave Chappelle. I think Dave Chappelle might have been like an EP of the special that he did.
Okay.
Because Dave Chappelle's really like giving the opportunity, which again, kudos to Dave Chappelle, man, because he's really giving people that heavily deserves this platform. Because Earthquake is a destroyer on the stage. He's always been great. He's always been great. I believe Donnell Rollins should be next up. That's I think EP'd from Dave Chappelle. I think Lunell's supposed to be having her own as well too. Lunell with her nasty ass. She nasty, but she's funny and just well respected by a lot of comedians, man. Well, look, I see on stand. I was talking to our guest, so he's having some technical difficulties with his so it's gonna look like we're not gonna have an actual screen share for Jerry, but he is gonna be on the line. So we're gonna head to a quick commercial break, and then next up we're gonna bring on our guest, Mr. Jerry Stephanitsis. So we will be back here with our Smooth Club podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, we back. My bad.
Word. Them boys from Ingenious are doing it right now.
I'm sorry. And look, I wish I could have a sit right now, man. I haven't had a lot to eat today, so I ain't gonna really get.
Don't break the Ingenious out.
I don't want to break the Ingenious.
I don't know what time we're gonna push this out, but let's just let our listeners know we record this very early in the day. So if you ever see Arrington with a glass in front of him, judge him immediately.
Please hit up your nearest AA people, and please lend a helping hand. Please lend a helping hand. But it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I mean, come on, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's just not here, but you're right.
Just not here. Just not here.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, no
That's
doubt.
true.
No
That's
doubt.
true, man. Well, look, we have our guest is in the building, Mr. Jerry Stephanitsis. Again, a little bit about Jerry. He is the director of operations for VCW, which stands for Virginia Championship Wrestling. It's an indie professional wrestling organization based out of Virginia. It's the largest indie independent wrestling promotion in the state of Virginia. I'm very excited to have him on. Again, we had a bad storm the day before, so we actually have him on the line. So I'm gonna bring Jerry on right now. Jerry, can you hear us?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How are you?
What's
Jerry.
going on, boss man? Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gents. Mr. Jerry Stephanitsis. Jerry, man, look, first of all, I'm excited to have you here on the show. I hope you and your family are well. I know it was a bad storm the night before, so everything good in your area, in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, we're good. I've been outside kind of cleaning up today. I'm sure a lot of people are, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully everything's pretty good. But I'll blame the hurricane for not having video shared today. We'll say it's the hurricane's fault. Maybe it knocked something out over here.
It's all good. Well, of course, we're gonna have you back more and more, man. But look, we're so excited to have you on because I was just talking with Cam before the show, during the show. How big of a fan I am of wrestling. I grew up watching it. Majority of my family is from New York, and my family always used to attend the Garden for old wrestling match. So like my grandmother grew up a wrestling fan. That's how I kind of found out through her, and just the whole family were mad wrestling fans. And again, what got you involved in the wrestling business? What got you involved in just VCW, director of operations?
Well, let me go back a little further than that. So when I was, my son is 4 months old now, and I guess when I was his age, my father used to sit me in front of the TV, and we used to watch Hillbilly Jim and King Kong Bundy and Hulk Hogan on the television. He tells me the story now as an adult where he used to put me in like this wind-up rocking chair, and he would wind the thing up as fast as it would go, and he'd just start the thing up and turn wrestling on the TV. So that was as long as I've been, aware of my surroundings, I've been watching wrestling. And it got to be, I guess, the early 2000s. I was graduating high school. My dad and I actually went to WrestleMania 17 in Houston, Texas, as fans. And that day I was there. I was looking around. It was a huge. I mean, people to this day say that's the best WrestleMania they've ever produced. But
what headline that one, Jerry?
That was the second time The Rock and Steve Austin.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. And then there was the first TLC match, I think, second TLC match with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys.
Yeah.
Hardy Boys, man.
Hardy
Wow.
Boys, yeah. A lot of really good matches on that one. Undertaker and Triple H. So we went to this event, and that day I kind of decided, I was like, I want to get involved in this in some capacity. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know how deep into the weeds I want to get, so to speak, right? But I know I want to do something. So a few years later, you fast forward, I found out that there was a independent promotion in Virginia called VCW. At the time, it was Virginia Championship Wrestling. Then the name got changed to Vanguard Championship Wrestling shortly after I joined. And I knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who knew the person who was running the show there. So they recommended me to talk to this guy. Well, at the time, I was in my early 20s. I foolishly thought I could be a wrestler. I thought, I'm going to get in that ring and I'm going to show them, I've got what it takes to do this thing, right? Never mind that I hadn't worked out in 10 years. Never mind that I'm, 5'9" and probably 50 pounds at the time, right?
I love the confidence. I love the confidence.
Yeah, I know, but I knew something told me I'm going to get in there. I'm going to show them. So I showed.
Oh, I think a little.
Like I said, cut me off.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so I show up to this tryout, and it's all military guys, like who are in amazing shape. Everybody there is in amazing shape, and then me, and I'm there in a Ren and Stimpy T-shirt, right? And they go, we're going to start off with 250 squats. And I'm like, okay. I said, I haven't done 250 squats in my life, right? So, but I get through them, it's all right. Then they go, all right, now we're going to start putting the work in. So then we start doing running around the ring. We start doing all this other stuff. They try to get us in to take bumps. I get in and start taking a couple falls. I start feeling kind of off. I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom real quick. I go to the bathroom and man, I made a mess in that bathroom. I puked all over the place. I fell down. I was like discombobulated. I think I passed out for a minute. They come in to check me, and one guy comes in, looks at me, and just goes, "Well, he's done," and he leaves. Next guy comes in, looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, before we started, you told me this was your dream." He goes, "Is it really your dream?" I go, "It is." He goes, "Then you need to get back up." So I get back up, wash myself off, go back out there, stand at the apron. One guy who's still around today, he's standing in the ring. He looks down and he goes, "Hey, weren't you the guy on the bathroom floor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "So what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to try to get back in there." And he goes, "Everybody stop." He goes, "This guy just said he's going to try." He said, "That's all we care about today." He said, "I don't care what shape you're in. I don't care what you can and can't do." He goes, "I care, when you're beat up and you can't do anything, are you going to keep trying?" And he goes, "I want everyone here to give him a round of applause."
That's dope.
And I was like, "Man, that's great. That's really," and it really made an impact on me. Right. And, so at the end of the day, it's kind of funny. Like, a promoter, Travis Bradshaw, he's a good friend of mine. Now he's a good friend of mine, but he pulls me aside and he goes, they pulled everybody aside after the Tryout and told them whether they were going to train them or not. And he goes, "Well, you don't really have any athletic ability." He goes, but the trainers here say you have a lot of heart. He goes, "So we want to find something for you to do." And I said, "Okay." So I got my foot in the door. I have a degree in communications from Old Dominion University. I've got a minor in video and film production. I got my foot in the door, videotaping wrestling shows, and it's just been off to the races for 18 years since then. So.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
That is awesome.
Thanks, yeah.
You already know how it's going to be when it's like, "Kid, you got a lot of heart."
What? This might not be the thing for you, but you got gumption.
Yep.
Oh,
I should point out too. Now I'm the only one from that training class that's still around. I don't know if there's other guys. I don't know if there's any other guys stuck around or not. But all these other guys were, they were in way better shape than me, and they were getting through all this stuff. But it's not for everybody. It's a very tough industry. Wrestling is, right, and there are many different levels you can operate on. Obviously I operate on the independent level. These guys that get to a national level, I have the utmost respect for them because you really have to sacrifice so much to get to that level, to do that. So it can be very very challenging, but it can also be rewarding. Definitely we have a good time with our events, and when you see people, I like to pretend like I don't care what the fans think, but when you see people leave and they're having a good time, and they're especially if it's like a parent with their child, it reminds me of what I used to go do with my father. All the times we went to Scope and used to go to the matches together. It's that in a sense is very rewarding for me.
And I'm glad, Jerry, you put that, you mentioned that, because I remember I attended one of I think the Liberty Lottery event over in Norfolk, and it's a different atmosphere because that was my first independent wrestling event I've ever attended. I've attended a couple of the the WWE events. It's massive, but when you see that grassroots feeling, and you see the amount of because you build up by a lot of the local presence and the support of the community. And I mean, you had easily, I know it probably was like 300 people in attendance, and I love always hearing about the on the back end of it when it comes to just the preparations for events and the superstars, the wrestlers that you have under VCW. How was your first year as director of operations? Was it was it very difficult? Does it get more and more difficult throughout every year? How was that first year as director for VCW?
So I like to tell people I had a good trainer. Again, Travis Bradshaw, who I mentioned before, is a good friend of mine. He was a promoter for many years. He kind of, over the previous 17 years of my, career, he gave me all of my breaks. He was like, "You can do video, why don't you do this? Hey, do you want to write the show? You can be the booker. Do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to be a manager? You can do this, right? Like all my breaks came through him, and every time I messed up, I heard about it. So, it kind of gives you a good perspective on like what works and what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I've tried to do is put people in positions around me that I trust, that I know are going to put the work in. So that way I'm not, burning the candle at both ends, right? Because it's very, very easy to do in promotions. And so I've worked really hard to do that, and even still to this day, I mean, we're on, I guess, year and a half now, right, that I've been doing this. Even still, I'm still kind of putting people in different positions and saying, hey, I need you to do this. This will be your thing, so on and so forth. That first event was pretty rough because I was trying to do too much. But I think that over the last year, it's gotten a little bit easier, and hopefully it continues to get better to the point where we're managing things and moving completely smooth like clockwork. I mean, it's going pretty good right now, but there's still a couple little inconsistencies here and there that need to be kind of ironed out.
Yeah.
But I'm happy overall. Like really, I mean, and to your point, Liberty Lottery, I think we actually had about close to 500 people at that event, or over 500. I can't remember the exact number, but it was the first event we did. We had 600, close to 600 people, and then we've consistently drawn anywhere between 300 and 600 every event since then. And so for an independent promotion, that's pretty good. I mean, some of these independent promotions are lucky if they get 30 people to show up.
Yeah.
So it's like,
seriously,
so I mean, if you're doing that, I mean, it's hard to convince people. I always say to people, it's hard to convince somebody to, especially in today's pandemic or post-pandemic age, whatever you want to call it, the digital age too, where nobody wants to leave their house. You got to convince them to like get showered, get dressed, take money out of their bank account, come down to the venue, be around a whole bunch of other people, go, you know what I mean? Like be a part of this big event. I mean, national touring acts have a hard time getting people to turn out sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And we're just an independent. So we really do our best to like give them a very what we feel is a very quality product, and not overstay our welcome. I tell people that's very important too. I think you want to have a show that's 2.5 hours. You're there, you have a good time, and then you cut everybody loose, and then you come back in 6 weeks or whatever, and you do it again.
So Jerry, I have a question for you. I'm definitely an old school wrestling fan, but I'm kind of novice to like the independent game, right? So like, how does it operate? Because when you watch WWE, you watch AEW, they have the ongoing storylines, and you kind of pick in and play and kind of see what's going on with what's happening with these characters. How does your organization kind of playing with that? Do they have the storylines, or is it just you come in to watch an entertaining show? Like, exactly, if you could explain to our listeners what that looks like for you guys.
Sure. So we it's different for every independent, but for us, we like to have a common thread, right?
Gotcha.
So even though we do shows every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however frequently it is, depends on the time of year, right?
Sure.
We have carryover. So whoever was our champion on the previous show, they'll have an issue with somebody. They'll have the issue will continue to the next one, right?
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So I like it because it gives your audience a reason to come back, because you give them the cliffhanger at the end and you're like, well shit, I have to be back in 2 months now to see what happens next. I love it.
It's it's like episodic TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what wrestling is.
For sure.
Like I said, we don't have we had TV for a year back in like 2009, and it was challenging to produce. Again, utmost respect for people who produce television every week and have been doing it for 40 years or whatever.
It's a lot.
But there's a lot of effort that goes into producing a television show, beyond even just the live event. But we try to kind of produce that sort of episodic, sort of feel from a live event perspective.
Yeah. That's cool.
And it's funny you say that, Cam, because I remember attending that last show. I was sitting amongst some groups that people knew, the person that came from the last show. It was families and even the opportunity, like I think you guys have, where the performers, they're signing, doing merch, signing autographs before the show, sometimes midway, which again, the fans love that because they love that interaction. They're big fans of them and supporters. And the funny one is, you got the villains. The villains, they play that role to the fullest. They play that role so good, man. And even just their character. Like, I had the opportunity to interview Benjamin Banks, who is he's one of your champions for VCW. He's one half of the tag team champions. Cool guy. And just hearing his story. And of course, I just got to mention this, Jerry. Benjamin wasn't saying some kind words about you. I just want to let you know.
I hate that. I hate that guy. I don't care.
Oh man,
I hate that guy. Whatever.
I mean, live on the air, he was saying some trash, man.
Yeah, you say he's a nice guy. You don't know the real Benjamin Banks. Okay, I managed Benjamin Banks for years. He was 500 pounds. It was because of me he dropped all this weight. I said to him, brother, you're gonna have a heart attack. You're gonna drop dead. You need to get yourself in shape. And you know what? It was my motivation only that got him to drop all that weight and got him back in shape. And he doesn't credit me with any of it. All he does is say I was holding him. He says, "Oh, Jerry was holding me back." And once I got rid of Jerry, I dropped 150 pounds because of of him off of my back, and then I dropped 200 pounds or more of actual weight off of myself too. Jerry was the one who was, he said I make him so depressed. He was eating all the time. I said that's not my fault. That's not my fault. So so don't listen to him. He's got a bias. He's had a bias against me for years. He's probably butthurt that I'm the director of operations right now. He's got to work for me. That's his own deal. So.
Talk that talk, Jerry. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you, it's bad blood, man. I'm telling you, I was on the air and Benjamin was nothing nice, and I'm like, wow, not anything. And Jerry, you have your hands full tonight because you have a very special event going on at the Croc Center, the Salvation Army Croc Center of Hampton Roads. We have which is going to be an amazing show. Headlining is EC3 and none other than the WWE legend Gangrel. Cam, you remember Gangrel?
Of course, the Brood, man. Of course.
And this is not just a regular toe for toe match. Jerry, this is a hair versus hair match, man. We gotta talk about it. You got your hair on the line.
Wait.
It's only my hair on the line. Let me clarify.
Oh, okay.
Only my hair on the line. Okay. But it is. I announced this a couple weeks ago. It's actually also now going to be a no disqualification, no count out match.
Oh wow.
So here's the thing, okay? George Pantis, who's our commissioner, I've known him since birth, and he's annoyed me since the day I was born. And so, having him around is kind of like a fun little joke for me, right? Like I could have fired him a long time ago. I've fired several people, like since I've taken over here. But George, he's like a mascot or a rodeo clown, So it's nice to have him around. I get my jollies watching him try to actually make decisions and have people take him seriously. So George, but he's continually kind of been a thorn in my side. And, I just wanted to embarrass him one additional time. And I thought, hey, EC3 is coming to VCW. George has got no friends. I'll put a challenge out there to George and say, if you can find anybody who's even close to the caliber of EC3 that can beat him, then I'll shave my head. Right. And then somehow, I don't know how much money George put up to get Gangrel.
He got a ringer.
To come in. Yeah, he got a ringer. Probably sold his car to make this happen. So now he's got Gangrel coming in. So, but whatever, it's fine. I still have the utmost confidence in EC3, mm-hmm. And I said I wanted to make this no DQ, no count out because I just don't trust George. That's the reality. I want to make sure this match is fair and square, that nobody's interfering when they shouldn't. I don't want it to end on a technicality. I don't want somebody to get disqualified or counted out and I end up having to shave my head off something stupid, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be pin or submission only. And so, I'm confident. I've said this in several interviews. I love three things. I love my wife, my son, and my hair.
Oh,
and
man.
No one's shaving my head. No one's shaving my head.
No one can see it, Jerry, but Jerry, you do have a good head of hair. I just want to, I met you.
Thank you.
You do got a good head of hair there. From a man with no hair, just a beard, but to a guy with a good set of hair, I just wanted to, say that.
So not that I want to put this energy out there, Jerry, but I gotta ask. So in the unfortunate event that Gangrel does win this match, does the shaving happen right there at the event? Like, is this a live thing?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it would happen right
Okay.
there. I would agree to let it happen right there. Because
Okay.
again, I make good on my promises. But
Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But I there's no way. I just don't think that EC3, can be beaten by anybody at this stage in his
EC3
career.
EC3 is like 275. The man is a rock. Okay, the man is huge, and
No pun
EC3 has
intended.
no. Okay. The man has a huge resume. I mean, on the indie circuit, I mean, he's dope. I mean, Jerry picked the right guy to represent him. But Jerry, set aside for VCW, man. I want to have a little fun with some wrestling questions. Being that you're a true fan of professional wrestling, I want to just ask, who is, in your opinion, at least give me 3 greatest wrestlers of all time?
Oh man, that's tough. I would say The Rock is probably the best because he has transcended wrestling.
Yes, he has.
And I think he is probably the best. I would say, and it's funny, maybe I'm biased because I saw them wrestle each other several times, but I would say Steve Austin is probably the second best because he has, out of anybody, sold more merchandise, sold more houses. I mean, did you guys see that match with Kevin Owens he had at WrestleMania by chance? He had
I
this
did not
past
see
year.
that one. No, I didn't.
So the man hadn't wrestled since I was 19 years old. So it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
He comes back and he has a match that's literally like a main event from 1999. It was like he hadn't even taken the day off.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have knees anymore. Like when
right.
All he does is look, when you drink beer, you don't need knees anymore, man. The adrenaline, man. It's the adrenaline.
Here's the thing, when you know how to control that crowd.
Yeah.
That is really, to me, that is what dictates. Like, people will, like, when you ask them who their favorite wrestler is, they'll say, like, it's this guy who's well, when you ask, let me rephrase that. When you ask like a real diehard wrestling fan, who's the best wrestler, they'll name somebody who's really technically proficient.
Yeah.
And that person might be the most technically proficient wrestler. They may be true, right? Which may, by their definition, make them the quote best pure wrestler, right? Sure. But to me, what makes you a great wrestler is the crowd control. It's are you able, do you sell tickets?
Absolutely.
Do people care about you, right? Does my mom know who you are, right? She's not a wrestling fan, right?
Yeah.
But she knows who The Rock is. She knows who Stone Cold is, right?
Yeah.
I could name someone I think is really technically proficient, and she'd go, who? I mean, it's like, how do you, what crosses that barrier? Because really, at the end of the day, it's promotions. I view wrestling as a sport. I know we call it sports entertainment. There's a level of that, obviously, to it as well. But I think that, the goal in wrestling is definitely to entertain people through athleticism. But you also want to draw more people in constantly. You want to get those people who are maybe, on the fence about it, like they kind of like it, whatever. You want them to come in and buy tickets and see your events and just have a good time and go home. You don't want to only exclusively market toward the diehard fans. There's plenty on the card for them to enjoy, right? But those two guys, I would say, are probably the two, at least in my estimation, are probably the two best I've ever seen. Yeah.
So I have 2 more because I know you have a busy day with your.
I have one question off the heels of that, and this is quick, Jerry. Do you agree that Hollywood Hogan was the greatest heel turn of professional wrestling history?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I was 12 years old when that happened. I remember watching it live on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
and I remember losing my mind. Like, I couldn't believe.
There were tears, like tears in the audience.
And all the trash they threw in the ring.
Oh,
like nothing anyone could do today would elicit a reaction like that. I mean, it's not. But again, you're working against like it was just the perfect timing. His fan base, which was like our generation, right? Like, was just getting to be kind of close to teenage age, and it was just the perfect storm of things. You can't just recreate that with a random turn.
Absolutely.
That was absolutely the best. Yeah.
Cam, you are a mind reader because I've been watching reruns of I was about to say VCW, WCW Monday Night Nitro on Peacock, and literally the episode I stopped like a couple nights ago was when he turned, and I'm like,
it was great. It was some of the like
priceless.
not even some of the best TV. I mean, some of the best wrestling. It was probably some of the best TV that has ever happened. Like it was scripted beautifully. Like it just engulfs everybody. Like Jerry said, the shit that was thrown in the ring, like people were mad. Like this was
do you know them custodians was happening. Like, I don't believe that. Don't you throw that. Yeah, like everywhere, man. The place was trash.
Yeah.
Now WCW. Now, Jerry, were you team WCW Monday Night Nitro, or were you WWF during that attitude? Whose side were you on, and which side did you want to see really win that war?
I watched it all, but I will tell you that when one was at Scope and the other was at the Coliseum on the same night, I did go to WWF at the Hampton Coliseum, but again, they didn't come here as much. I think I went to 2 Starcades with my dad at the Scope. Like I've been to countless Nitros and Thunders and house shows, and I'd seen WCW so many times, and when WWF was coming here, it's like a rarity that they would do that. And of course, they did it because it was like they're in this war. Let's book the building across the bridge, right? And let's have this big night or whatever.
Us real fans, we flip back and forth on TV.
It was amazing. I loved it.
We had 2 TVs in our house, and I would put a VHS on record in one room, and I would go watch live in the other room. And then the next day, this goes. You have a lot of free time when you're a kid. Now I couldn't do that now, but like now I have a hard time watching 10 minutes of wrestling. That's not stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And so, but I used to go back and forth and watching them, and I record one, and I watch it. I've got all these VHS tapes in my house still to this day that have random episodes of Raw and Nitro on them, because that was the one I was taping that particular night, so I could see the other one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned The Rock and Stone Cold. Now, a wrestler that had a bigger impact on professional wrestling, if you had to choose between those two, because I'm a little surprised you never mentioned Ric Flair, man. Because Ric Flair, you're talking about sales. You're talking about people that don't have to know wrestling. They know when they hear "woo," they know who they're talking about. And Ric Flair.
It's probably because it's probably because I met Ric. It's probably because I met Ric Flair and I went to the bar with him one time, so I'm probably a little biased. If I can tell you guys a story.
Of course, it had to be the bar. Of course, it had to be the bar.
Yeah, you want to hear a story about that?
Of course, we want to hear a story about the Nature Boy.
All right. So in 2008, I think that was the year Ric Flair retired. Right, he had that match with Shawn Michaels. It was great. All that stuff happened. Well, he did an independent tour shortly after that. He went on the road. So, we were one of the promotions that were lucky enough to get him. Okay. It was a very expensive venture. And Rick is very much the Ric Flair that he portrays himself to be.
I believe that.
First class limousine, first class hotel, first class this, first class that. Okay. All these things, right? Well, Rick comes in. He does our event. He's great with the fans. He's great with everybody that he sees. We had a few other legends on the show, like Ricky Morton, who he's a good friend with, and seeing these guys interact. We have some of this on video, but seeing these guys interact and like catch up after not seeing each other for a while, it was really good to see, right? So then Rick, after he does his promo, he leaves. We had it actually proclaimed Ric Flair Day in the city of Norfolk on that day. If you go back and check the records in the city, it was actually proclaimed Ric Flair Day. So he does his promo, he leaves. I get a phone call. My parents are kind of like making sure Rick is, busy and happy, right? So I get a phone call from my father, and he goes, Rick is, we're at the Marriott, and it was them and some of their other friends. And he goes, and Rick wants to go out. And I go, okay. I said, well, are you going to take him? And, my dad goes, no. He goes, but you should come take him. I go, okay. So I come to the Marriott. I pick up Rick. I go, where do you want to go? He goes, I want to go to Waterside. And the Marriott in Waterside, now, if you guys aren't familiar with downtown Norfolk, it's like 2 blocks. Okay.
Yep.
So I said, well, let's walk. He goes, no. We don't walk anywhere. Okay? He goes, I'll be right back. He goes inside. And now his agent, this lady who's his agent, is with him as well. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And she's like, he's had a few drinks. I go, okay. So he comes back out with a wad of cash. He steps into the middle of Main Street in downtown Norfolk. He waves the wad of cash up in the air, and this like shuttle bus that's like typically designed to like take like people with physical handicaps around town pulls off to the side. The door opens. The door opens, and the guy goes, "Are you Ric Flair?" And he goes, "Yep." He goes, "You going to Waterside?" And he goes, "No, it's not one of my stops." And he throws the wad of cash at the guy and goes, "You're taking me now." So we all get on this like bus, little bus. Yeah, we get on this little bus, and his agent starts laughing, and she looks at him and she goes, "This has got to be one of the most ridiculous things you've ever done." And he busts out laughing, and he goes, "Woo!" and like starts like doing this thing, in the middle. So I got to tell all the good before I get to the part where I like where it turns sideways for me. Okay, so all this happens. This is all great. We get to Waterside. I think it was Have a Nice Day Cafe. It was one of those bars that used to be open back in that time. Mm-hmm. We walk up to the front, and there's a huge line out front, and he's Ric Flair. So we walk through Waterside right to the front. The bouncer knows who he is, obviously, and he goes, "Hey, brother, you got room in there?" He goes, "Yep, 1 second." He puts his hand to his earpiece. "All right, you can go in." And all these other people, we cut like 50 to 100 people in line that are just standing out there waiting to get in this place. They can't get in. Mm-hmm. So we get in. They know that he's there. Somebody gets on the mic and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Nature Boy Ric Flair is here. Woo!" And like he's wooing. People are turning. 50-year-old women are fanning themselves and fainting. Like I mean,
the bloomers.
Yeah. It's like this big thing. We literally do one lap. He has one drink, and we leave. That's all he wanted, and we walked back to Main Street. I said, "You had to arrive in this shuttle," but he had no problem walking back. He was like, "Whatever, maybe he burned through all that cash. I don't know why he had to walk back." So we get back. So this is how the night ends. So we get back there. We're talking, whatever, and a friend of mine is next to me, and she goes, she makes the mistake of going, "Jerry knows everything about wrestling." Says this to Ric Flair, okay. And I'm just like, "Oh God, why did you say that?" And I kind of like put my hand up over my face, and he goes, "Oh, do you?"
Oh man.
He goes, "I've got a question for you then." He goes, what does my watch mean?" And I go, "What does his watch mean?" I'm like, "Huh." And I said, "Well, you always talk about your watch, is this that?" He goes, No. What does the specific watch I'm wearing on my wrist right now mean?" Okay. And I'm like, "What am I on Jeopardy? Like, what are we doing here?" Like, so one of my friends is like over his shoulder, and she goes, "Oh, it says 24 on it." And he puts his hand over and covers it. Okay. And I go, "Oh, 24. I said, "You retired at WrestleMania 24. I go, "It must be a retirement watch." He goes, "Who gave it to me?"
He's really grilling you at this point.
I'm like, "Oh my God." So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, who would buy this man this watch? And I said, "Was it Vince McMahon?" That's who I assume bought him his retirement watch, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He stands up. He goes, "I want you all to know I've had a wonderful night up until now. Young man, you know nothing about this business. You know nothing about my career.
Wow.
You know nothing about anything. I bid you a good night." And he walks away. And I said, "Man, I just offended Ric Flair," right?
Yeah.
His agent, she comes and sits next to me. She goes, "Don't worry about that." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "He does that whenever he's had too many drinks and he wants to go to bed." She goes, "Nobody knows what his." She goes, "Nobody knows what his effing watch means." She goes, "It was a retirement watch. You were right." She goes, "Shawn Michaels gave it to him, not Vince McMahon." And then she goes, "But Vince probably paid for it." So and so that's my only experience with Ric Flair. So it's not saying he's a bad guy or anything. It just was like a funny, like he's very much Ric Flair. Like
I was going to say that was very much a Ric Flair evening and what I would expect to be a Ric Flair evening.
My gosh. That is, oh man, Jerry, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous because Ric Flair is like that no, seriously, because Ric Flair is that he's, for one, America's like, he's the most lovable wrestler. Like everybody, if you see him, you have to grab a picture. He's embraced by all the sports teams, rappers. The hip hop community alone is like already like they've always respected Ric Flair. But he had the recent song. What was it with Migos? Cam, was it Migos that he did that song?
That sounds familiar.
And it was, I mean, and he's featured in multiple music videos now, and of course he had the most recent, the last match. I mean, the man is 73 years old.
Oh yeah,
still competing after like literally having like 2 stints with death. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Rick. But the man is going out his way, and he will always he will always have that huge presence, character wise, his brand alone, and yeah, man. I mean,
we use
awesome.
We use a phrase "top 5" in reference to anything that we talk about, right? And he's definitely up there. He's in pretty much everybody's top 5 for sure.
Oh yeah. And he's absolutely one of the greatest of all time. I don't mean. I mean, there's so many others that are just have drawn so much money and done so much good business and done so many things. I just feel, like I said, I think that the 2 guys I mentioned, to me, again, the era I came up in. And I think that was probably the hottest period in the history of the business too. Were the late '90s. The money that was coming in.
Yeah,
those guys to me are just definitely tippy top. I think that'll. I don't think anything will ever. I don't know that anyone will ever come around that kind of changes my mind on that, and I would put above them.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And there's also where professional wrestling was at the time. Like it was pretty much up there with your major sports. Like professional wrestling was everything at that time. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's not huge now, but I don't know that it'll ever get back to where it was then. And they were icons at that time. So
10 million people. Yeah, 10 million people watching it every week between the 2 shows.
Crazy.
Crazy. Now they draw 1 million people on television, and they're like 1 million people watched, and I'm like that's right. Like that's cool. Like I know less people are watching TV now, so I mean that's cool. True. That's still a lot of people. True. But like 20 years ago, it was like 10 times that. Yeah. Like I remember being in school and like wrestling not being cool in the mid '90s. Yeah. Everybody kind of like, I remember getting bullied. I remember getting bullied for what I can wrestling because stuff like Mantar was on TV back in those days, and then then a couple years later, all the guys that would bully me in school were like, "Hey, did you watch Raw last night?" And I have this very specific memory. I'm at a urinal in middle school, and I'm going to the bathroom, and this guy walks up next to me who never talks to me ever, aside from like making fun of me. Comes up next to me, and he goes, "Hey man, you watched Raw last night?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "All right, you making fun of me again?" He goes, "No, man, I watched it." And blah blah blah. He starts rattling off all this stuff. Now I'm the expert, right?
Yeah.
He goes, "Tell me more about this guy. Tell me more about that guy." I'm just like, man. I said, "Man, this is wrestling must be getting pretty hot because people who didn't care about it at all care about it now."
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
It's funny you say that because I was the same guy. I never got picked on or anything, but literally, like, it wasn't the conversation to have at the lunch table. Like, everybody was mainly talking about, hey, you watch the game or you watch this TV show. Yeah. If I mentioned wrestling, maybe like one person out of like 50 be like, "Hey, I heard it too." And it's like, okay, it's the guy that is like, okay, whatever. Let me just change the subject.
It's like a secret club. It's like a secret club.
It is. Oh, it really is.
You like wrestling? Well, let's talk about it. Let's
start a Facebook group, and we're gonna do this right now.
Yeah. You start asking like simple questions, see how much they know, and then you kind of like get deeper into the weeds, and you're like, "Oh, okay, this guy really knows his stuff." You know what I mean? Like
That is, but that is so true, man. Look, Jerry, we've had. I wish we can, have it longer, man. I know you got this awesome event going on tonight. Again, EC versus Gangrel. You have a huge card going on with VCW and at the Croc Center tonight. And I'm excited. My wife and I will be there front and center. Enjoying that show. What are some ways people can continue to support and follow VCW?
Sure. So you can go to our official YouTube channel, just Virginia Championship Wrestling on YouTube. We've got 4,000 subscribers on there. You can follow us on Facebook. I think we're closing in on 9,000 followers on Facebook, which is pretty good. Yeah. So we're doing pretty good there. We're not on Twitter. We do have an Instagram, but it's touch and go, like as far as how much we're leveraging it. VCWProWrestling.com is probably where you can get the most up-to-date information. That's where you can buy tickets, things of that nature as well. But those are our main sources for promotion as well. So if you follow us on those social media platforms, that's definitely going to get you the most recent stuff that we're working on.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gents, this is Mr. Jerry Stephanitsis, Director of Operations for VCW, the largest independent pro wrestling organization in the state of Virginia. Please check them out. Check out VCWProWrestling.com for more information and check out some upcoming shows that they have. Again, follow and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Okay, you get to see some past matches. I truly always enjoy watching some of the past clips and stuff that I've missed. Again, Jerry, thank you so much. I know you busy man, but we appreciate you, chatting with us here on the
time,
podcast.
Jerry.
No problem, guys. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, take care. Man, Cam, what an awesome conversation. That was so much fun.
Dope. That was dope. Yeah, I definitely I won't be able to make it tonight. But the next one, I definitely want to check it out. I definitely want to. It's been a while since I've seen a live show. So yeah, I definitely want to check one out for sure.
I'm telling you, man. I should have asked Jerry. Look, as far as the training, I mean, maybe the fellas at R Smooth Club can just kind of take
not me. No.
Behind the scenes.
I want no parts of it. No,
not even no. Okay.
No.
That you
that whole bathroom scene he described very vividly. I'm good.
You good? Okay.
I'm good. Yeah. No, I'm good.
But I mean, just hearing the stories, that Ric Flair story was priceless. We definitely needed that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
The whole transition with how he talked about 10 million people tuned in on a weekly basis now to like 1 million. And I wonder if that's because, being that we're in like a streaming service society, they have so many avenues.
I was thinking that. So like appointment, and this is like another topic within itself that, we'll probably touch on at some point, but appointment television doesn't really exist to the degree it used to. Like, there was a time where we had to be locked in at a certain time, or you would have to catch it, when they repeated it, right? But now, not specifically with wrestling, just, content in general. But now everything is everything you can catch on Hulu or Netflix, or you can catch it on when the individual channels have it on demand is the term I'm looking for.
That's true.
Like that's how. So you're catching television at your own whim, and people, even though I don't think professional wrestling is something that you can catch in that manner, people are less likely to be glued at their TV at certain times. So if they catch it, they catch it. If they don't, they don't. Back then, you had to watch. We were in that mindset. You got to watch it when it comes on.
And I was that dude. Best believe if we running late, come on, you got to drive faster because it is Thursday night. Because at that time, SmackDown was on UPN. I think it's now the CW, but it used to be on UPN. And I can remember what channel Raw was. Raw wasn't always on the network that it's on now.
I think they've been on. If I'm not mistaken, it was on USA.
It was on USA. Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, it was on USA.
Okay. I was always like a more of a SmackDown, even though really the wrestlers are kind of similar.
During that time, if WCW was on TNT.
That's right. And see, I was too young to really pay attention at the fact that it's totally different companies. I just remember it was wrestling. It was wrestling. So I would get it mixed. I would get it mixed up. But you're absolutely right. WCW is on TNT because TNT was owned by Ted Turner.
Turner. It was TNT and TBS were the the channels. I remember being younger, and we could catch Atlanta Braves games on TBS, and those would be the only outside the market. Viewers might not know me as listeners might not know me as well. Kind of new to the pod. Hey, I'm Cam. I'm from New York. Moved down here to Virginia in 2017. I'm here now. Brief intro.
Thank you.
But yeah, the Braves were on TBS. They were broadcasted pretty much countrywide and stuff like that. But yeah, TNT was where WCW Nitro was housed, and USA was where Raw was. SmackDown, I think you're right. SmackDown was usually on the local channels. I think that was on UPN. But yeah,
UPN
Raw is War was the show though. Like that was that was the show that was going up against Nitro. That's where, you know, they were the wrestling wars kind of was rooted.
That's
you know?
true. And really, Raw is much older in years compared to SmackDown.
Oh, for
SmackDown was
sure.
kind of much later
For
on, but like
sure.
you said, Raw
For
was
sure.
the heavy hitter. You know, that was the
Yeah.
juggernaut right there, man. And it
Yeah.
was dope. And it's like watching
Yeah.
old WCW Monday Night Nitro clips. I'm like, damn, I kind of wish WCW would have stayed a little long because it
Yeah.
was cool. I mean, they were, but now you got the AEW, which is kind of, you know, taking that realm. I mean,
It's getting there. I
mm,
don't know that it'll ever be. I don't, just like he said, we'll never have another thing like Hollywood Hogan.
that's true.
We'll never have a rivalry like that of WCW versus the WWE is just too big. You know what I'm saying? Like
They own everything.
it's great. It's great. We can watch AEW. We can appreciate AEW, but there will never be any organization that steps up and goes head to head with what where WWE is. It's just not possible.
The money is insane because outside of professional wrestling, they have their own film production. You know, they have a lot
Yeah,
of actors that
it's
they put in, you know, in films.
absolutely,
They got their
absolutely.
they started their network, and then I think
Yeah,
they end up signing with Peacock. So that's how they have
yep,
all the
yep,
archive of past stuff.
yep, yep,
They I
yep.
mean, yeah, they're branching off to not just professional wrestling. They're going in other avenues. Of course, the video games is gonna make them crazy, you
Yeah,
know, continue making them crazy money.
yeah,
But you're absolutely right. WWE will continue to be the largest
yeah,
company when it comes to
yeah.
professional wrestling, and that's where everybody, a lot of some of Jerry's wrestlers on his roster, VCW,
Mm-hmm.
they have been competing in I think one wrestler, his name is Brandon Scott, and he competed on like the NXT event one time, yeah, pretty recent. So
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
that's one thing. And I start thinking of the good questions once Jerry's gone, but it's a great avenue to lead these guys to the, you know, the mecca, because you might have some scouts that comes to some of these live indie events, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of their wrestlers, man, are athletic. Their brand, their genre is is really good. Is you can definitely see it selling to to the WWE circuit.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, look, Gangrel. I mean, you got guys like Billy Guns competed in
Yep. I
in
saw that. I
VCW.
saw
Al
that. There's a
Snow.
couple of names up there that I was surprised to see that competed on, you know, on his platform. That's dope. That's dope,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So it's just it's great. It's a great show. Like he said, between 300 and 500, or excuse me, 300 and 600 people
Mm-hmm.
average of these events, where it's just, you know, it's the community is very involved, man. That's the important thing when it comes to small businesses in the community. The community is always continue to support, and that's what we have to keep on doing with our, you know, small businesses, is support Jerry, and
Yeah.
VCW is one of those companies, man, that's been existing since '96. So we want to keep on supporting that. Oh man, but what a great combo, man. Cam, look,
Yeah.
that was a good way to start off the first R Smooth Club Weekly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. We had we had some other topics to go over. We're approaching the hour and a half mark, so
I
we'll
know. I mean, we can. What about you, fam? What about you? I got like one more to toss out. You
if you
want to
want to
hold it
do
for the next
a
one?
rapid fire for the last 5 to 10 minutes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see. 10 minutes. Oh boy, I don't know if this will be. We might have to continue this one for the next one, but I'll just start it off talking about oh, now you got me sweating. Which one? Let's talk about, let's go to NFL. Okay, most recently, quarterback Tua Tuga, I can't pronounce his last name, but
Yeah,
Miami Dolphins.
we just say Tua. Yeah.
Tua.
Yeah.
You know, he suffered a very scary you know, injury, head injury during one of the games this past week, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, the people are pissed because the game before, which was 5 days prior to this game, 5 days ago, he had knocked his head. He had a really bad you can see impact on his head during the game. He gets up,
Yeah.
stumbles, right, gets walked to the sideline, medical doctors, all that stuff, checking him out. He didn't continue. I think he was out. He finished that game because they said it was just a back injury. He continued that game and they had cleared him to play for this game. Now the head injury showed his fingers had seized up, had locked, and he was out for like a good 10 minutes. Preferably he is, he's up, but they're still, they're cautioning him as far as for, they had him wearing a neck brace just to, to be sure all his limbs are functioning. Thank God. But he is out due to concussion. But the reason why a lot of people are irritated, because you can see clear as day, this man he didn't just trip over his shoelaces. It was very scary the way, and this was the game before, I think when he played the Bills, and he's tumbling, and he shakes his head like this. So obviously it's not his back. If it was his back, he would literally be holding on to his back like it's my back, and you wouldn't walk him off. That you would literally already have a stretcher for him if it's any the back that you don't want to mess with.
So is that the issue? He got hurt last week and he was somehow playing the next week. Is that what the issue is?
So yeah, so the Bills game, which was before the last, I think they played Cincinnati Thursday, and he really should not have been allowed or cleared to play at all. And the whole thing is, why would you allow him? Because you already know he experienced a severe head injury the game prior. I think that was Sunday. So 5 days ago, Sunday. Right. And they shouldn't have allowed him to play to finish off that game. They said that he was just experiencing some back pains, and he was cleared to play. So the issue is, for one, when it comes to concussion protocols, what's the deal? How do these doctors, will say, okay, look, he can't play. He's obviously showing symptoms. We got to keep him out for at least 4 games, the next 4 games, instead of just clearing him. Or, the head coach, who's a first year, Mike McDaniel, he's a first year head coach with the Miami Dolphins. He is, he had the last go ahead to allow him to play. So
I think that's bullshit. I don't know exactly how the concussion protocol goes, but it shouldn't come down to the head coach. Like it comes down to the medical staff.
That's true.
If they clear him and say, like, the coach isn't a fucking doctor. Like the coach, if he passes the eye test, the coach is going to let him play. You know what I'm saying? If he's not wobbling around and falling over himself, then if he's running well, then the coach is going to say go for it. That falls down to the medical staff, right?
I think absolutely. So the medical staff has that clearance, but the medical staff is always going to tell the player, which is kind of it's hard because the player is always going to want to play. I mean, that's what they want. They're not going to.
He's a football player. He's
a football player. He's always going to want to play. So if he says, if the doctor says, well, how do you? Because that's what the doctor's going to be telling the player. How do you feel? You feel? I feel good. I feel good. Then the doctor will go to the head coach, because the head coach is going to be like, okay, what you think, kid? He's like, I'm good, coach. I'm good, coach. And really, it's like, look, football is the main sport where your career span could be in tomorrow or in a split second. So it's a very, very, impactful, contact, dangerous sport. Very entertaining. I mean, I played throughout from like 8 years old all the way to high school. Loved it. But I had a concussion for the first time. I forgot which, I think some junior or sophomore year. And I think after experiencing that, I just hear the stories my parents tell me, but it's like after experiencing that, I'm like, look, I can't see football really going further for me anyway. So I stopped doing it. I love the competitiveness. I love sports, but football is one of those sports where people have to understand these guys played from 8 years old to Brady's 45 years old. So, and they can continue to play longer and longer. The impact that they can always add more.
Brady's not a barometer with that. We're not like he's one in alone. Like the average is like what, early to mid 30s. Like nobody's
for average.
Like literally nobody's playing that long. Like that's just not happening.
If you're not a kicker or punter, if you're not a kicker or punter or a QB, you're not playing past 28.
But the days of I'm good coach are over. Like that's not enough. And I know that's not what they're doing, but those days are over. A football player, an athlete in general, never wants to come off the court, never wants to come off the field. Like you basically have to you have to treat it in a situation where you're choosing to do the best for them. If they shouldn't be playing, you have to make them not play. So like I said, that I'm good coach, that's not a thing anymore. It's medical staff come in, analyze him from what we can do in the field. If he passes those basic tests and stuff like that, okay, we're clearing to play. And at that point, after we clear him to play, then the coach makes a decision if he wants him to come in or not. Because at that point, we're saying he's healthy enough to play. Do we think because even though he may be healthy enough to play, he's still fighting some type of injury. Does that put us in the best position to win? I'm not even bringing the coach's name up in this. And again, I'm just going off of the story that all I saw was a clip of him with his fingers going crazy on the field and stuff like that. So I don't know completely what the backstory was until you just told me. But to me, it should have never gotten to the head coach. That decision should have been made before it got down to the field. And
the main story is the safety for the players, because to this state now, yeah, he's a first time coach, but damn, is winning that important to you?
It's not on him though. It's not on him. The decision should have never made it to him. But that player should have been taken off the field by the medical staff.
Well, but again, the medical staff is only going to be there. What's the word I'm looking for?
That's what the whole concussion protocol. That's why it was instituted. Because if you leave it up to the players and you leave it up to the coach, they're going to put these players in precarious positions and they're going to get hurt because, like you said, their job is to win the game. That's their concern. It's not the coach's responsibility to look at this player in the eyes and say, "Oh, he's ready. Oh, he's not ready." That's not where we want that to be.
Well, the question now is like, how much power does the medical doctors have on the coaches?
It's not a power thing. It's a do your job right thing.
Well, do your job. That's what I meant. But yeah, it's there's I don't know. There's been other squads that are like that, but this is just, I mean, clear as day. This is, the main thing in the headlines, because
the medical staff should be erring on the side of being protective of the players, even if they go overboard. Like, all right, you're doing too much. Like, I'd rather them take someone off the field that could possibly play than to see some shit than to see the images of Tua that we just saw this past week. So that's what I'm saying. I can't necessarily put that on a coach. I don't know what the coach saw. I don't know what the coach knew, blah, blah, blah. But he shouldn't have even been a ready player. Like, if we're playing Madden, he should have had the little thing, the little icon next to his name with the red cross. Like, we shouldn't have even been able to put him in.
Yeah, so that's a great. I haven't played Madden in a minute, but I do remember that when the player was hurt, they had this. But you're absolutely right. So right now it's like some investigation going on within the organization that the NFL is doing over the Miami Dolphins, because they're like, how many guys has this happened to, right? And that's the main thing that the NFL always has to fight over is the concussions. I mean, you have past players, Hall of Famers that are still in lawsuits with the NFL over the concussion protocols and stuff. And it's just going to be that conversation. We're always going to be.
It's just so funny because, like, just in life in general, things become a thing and then we don't care about them, or they're not as impactful. They're not a thing anymore. So you remember when this thing first came out with the percussion protocol, they were taking people off the field left and right. Like,
they were in
the NFL and it trickled over to the NBA. Like, you weren't coming back like until you were able to pass some basic competency tests to show that, like, you're okay. Now it's like,
No, you're absolutely right, because
you know what I'm saying?
That time, especially when Concussion came out, that movie told it all. But like you said, we don't want to see another not even just concussion, but the gentleman from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was a linebacker. He was paralyzed from, I think, the waist down for quite a little bit, but he never recovered after that bad hit. I think when he played Cleveland Browns, I forgot his forget his name.
It wasn't Perfect that hit him, was it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. He was a middle linebacker, and really he suffered a bad spine injury. So that right there would tell you, okay, that's a back injury. That's back pains. And really, you don't, even if they have slight back pains, you don't play with the spine. You really don't. That spine controls your whole body. So again, it's like a cover up to begin with. But I'm happy. I'm glad Tua is, limbs are, all moving and everything like that.
It could have all been over.
It's very scary.
It could have all been over in that one whatever. I didn't see it. I just saw the aftermath, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But I do know it could have all been over. That could have been it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna continue talking on this conversation once I get read up some more details, because it's gonna continue to be more and more things coming up, and we can talk about on the next episode, man. But again, Cam, hey, it's always a pleasure, always a good time talking with you, boss man.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we'll have Ciroc back, get that technical internet and all that good stuff taken care of.
His internet should be back by next week.
It definitely should be. Look, if not, we gonna just I don't know, kidnap him and bring him here or something.
We'll pull up in the studio. That's what we'll do. We'll pull up in the studio. Shout out to Jerry and the VCW. Like I said, I definitely want to catch the next event. He got me ready to see some wrestling in person, man.
I'm telling you, it's dope, and it's great. It's great entertainment. It's live. The fans are all impact. Like, it's the dopest event you can ever go to. So again, shout out to Jerry Stephanitsis with VCW. Again, y'all can support him by subscribing to their YouTube channel, VCW, Virginia Championship Wrestling on YouTube. Like he said, he's up to 4,000 subscribers now. I think 9,000 or past 9,000 on their Facebook page. And also VCWProWrestling.com for more information on further shows. So we truly appreciate him, man. I appreciate you, Cam.
Likewise, sir.
They're gonna be seeing a lot of you. See, you're always behind the scenes, so they never get to see you. But now you really, you got a lot to say. You gonna have a lot.
My footprint might be here. I might have put together the intro that we're seeing in the beginning of the show. You know what I'm saying? I might have been around for a little while, but yeah, we here now. We here now.
That's right, bros, man. That is right. Well, look, y'all be sure to tune in again every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel, Rugged Evil TV, and wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iHeart, whether it's Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can tune in to our Smooth Club podcast, a show where everyday men discuss everyday topics. Y'all take care. God bless. Again, hey, we out.
Let's go.